heroes that goes for kills. So I feel like this is very classic Empire through and through.
Yeah, I really do worry, though, for NIP. If there's a weakness in this draft, I think that the support Lina and support Rubik are going to have a really, really hard time in this game. They're just going to die so quickly in these engagements.
Certainly. All right, guys, so game number 2 here. Team Empire
battle.
are 1 game up already, and are hoping to be able to get an early lead over Ninjas and Pyjamas in this best of 5, but NIP running some very classic heroes here. They pick up the Alina as their last pickup, which will leave us with a Limp Night Stalker. So this is not going to be a mid Lina. They're going to switch things up, it seems, Ninjas and Pyjamas, despite the fact that this is very much their wheelhouse pickups. They actually
I'm
showcase enough versatility to change up roles.
I'm really surprised with this. I have to admit, I expected, up until the very end here, I expected Limp and Hanskin to switch eras.
So this will leave Jonas and Fawn as our mid Queen of Pain, and we're going to have a dual offlane of Limp Night Stalker and a Hanskin Lina. I mean, if anything is going to catch Empire unawares, it's going to be just who's playing these heroes and trying to figure out, okay, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to roam on this Resolution Zeus hard. I really think that that's so important that if they let Empire get off to any kind of a lead in this match, and I mean, with Undying, look at how Empire, by the way, is switching up their lanes here.
Yeah, they're currently, they were actually going to be running an aggro.
They're anticipating the try-v-try
The
bot.
battle begins.
Yeah, they really are, and that's very smart, I think.
Now, the question is, do you actually want to run, should you be running a defensive tri-lane and leave Gyrocopter alone? Probably not, right? It's just too squishy of a hero to leave alone. Not up against a Queen of Pain. So that just means they're going to have their dual lane of Jakiro and Undying. I thought, you know, maybe if they're running full aggression, you counter that with an actual tri-lane instead of just your very strong dual lane, just to get that extra little peak to make sure you win the lane, but I think it's best this way. Make sure that Gyrocopter really doesn't get shut out by the Queen of Pain. Our mid is actually going to be Seal Kid sitting here for a while. Not sure if he's going to fully do this, as, you know, obviously this is normally done with the Wisp. Seal Kid may just be
or the Lich.
For, yeah, that's true, the Lich as well.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking that if they can get away with this Rubik here in the mid lane, I mean, it's like a Lich that actually does something.
Right. At the same time, it's like
it's not quite as effective.
Yeah. At the same time, it's also like a Wisp that is actually stealing experience away from your Tiny. So
yeah, that was actually so unlucky that the uphill miss there by Seal Kid let Resolution keep his clarity.
Yeah. Top lane, they also forced out Unison Farm. They have Vengeful Spirit decided to go for the Wave of Terror first to really win the man fight up against the Queen of Pain, and is doing it quite successfully, forcing the Queen of Pain to go for Blink level 1, which means the Vengeful Spirit can be that much more aggressive, not having to worry about that poison and dealing with that bit of slow and tick damage. So very good position here from Empire. They'll get level 2 off of Jonas and Fawn now, but with this lane that's going to push out, I thought they were actually going to pull it back in, but Jonas and Fawn taking a lot of damage, is going to be forced to blink away.
Is under attack.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference here in the 2v1 lanes is that Resolution's getting something done mid. You know, Jonas and Fawn is getting nothing done top, and he might still go down here.
Yeah, Vengeful Spirit trying to keep up. They do have the blink up now. The stun actually lands, but there's no way they can do enough damage fast enough. Jonas and Fawn even just kind of faking out the blink, knowing that he would survive no matter what.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see a little bit unusual, but Silent going for the early level of Flat Cannon just to zone Jonas and Fawn out of the lane that much harder.
Seal Kid sitting here with the invisibility rune. They may just catch Resolution out of sorts here. They've got the Tiny, who's got his combination, level 3. Not going to have enough damage to instant burst them, but they could have enough damage with the right clicks thereafter to get that kill. We'll see what happens. Bottom lane, this dual lane is going to be pretty interesting back and forth. All the lanes, obviously, are going to have a lot of combat.
Yeah, but the farming Jakiro already with 14 last hits. Boy, when's the last time you saw that?
Doing very well. Aloha Dance, of course, zoning out these heroes, making it so it's very hard for Limp to actually be able to get CS. This is why they want to run the dual lane. They want to actually put the Undying up against the Night Stalker as best as possible, just so they can keep that strength hero down, whether it's just harassing him, but also making it so it's harder for him to last hit without that strength. Oh, they're actually laying out the tombstone. Limp gets way too close, and he's going to be caught out here. should be dying to Yoki's right click. A little bit of heal there. Aloha Dance does have another decay, which will finish him off. And they get the Light Strike array, and Aloha Dance, he does end up dying, but Hanskin is now going to fall again here. A little bit of heal up, landing the Light Strike array, nicely placed by Hanskin, and that will actually win it. Yoki goes down to the tower.
Nice.
Meanwhile, in the middle lane, it looks like they were able to get the kill on Resolution, finally pulling it back into Era. They get the kill, and Tiny still at full HP and full mana thanks to the large number of Magic Stick charges he had.
Yeah, and that's a little bit unfortunate because, you know, you can't take the camera off that dramatic bot lane fight, but the kill mid is arguably even bigger.
Dire's bottom tower is
for
under
sure.
attack.
I mean, Resolution finally getting caught, frees up room for Era. Also makes up for the fact that Shield is, yeah, maybe trying to get close enough for that avalanche. Always want to fly without boots. Will end up going down here. Jonas
Very nice.
comes in just to make sure she does in fact die. 1-4 now in the favor of Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Yeah, and you can see, right, despite the dual lane mid, definitely paid for itself now. Era sitting at level 5, a level ahead, slight level advantage on the solo laner Zeus.
Yoki. He's got so much regen in this lane. Tranquil Boots, he still has 5 different tangos. Really hasn't been forced to use any of it. And already has HP potion plus a magic wand. This guy is going to be impossible to take down in lane just through harassment.
Yeah, but here comes Limp with 2 levels of Hunter in the Night.
Yeah, Aloha Dance needs to be able to lay out the tombstone. Does get it off, but it's not going to change.
3 gold tombstone.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
I think he expected Yoki to come over and help him out a bit with that tombstone as his last dying request, but
that's one of the things I actually love Undying. Like, to me, he's such a fun hero to play, but oh my god, that hurts as much as like dropping wards just before death on your Rasa and having them get farmed.
Yeah,
just giving that extra 75 gold tombstone to that kill. Oh,
Jonas Fon drops pretty low. Very surprised they didn't go for a level of rocket, by the way.
Is under attack.
I really would have thought that with the up against a Blink hero, that having that rocket would have been nice. Resolution going to be caught here, thrown up top in the air, and dumped by the Tiny.
Yeah, this mid lane's out of control. They got to do something different here in this middle lane. Resolution just can't go back there and feed the Tiny.
But what do they do? Do they run like put Undying there in the middle lane? Do they put Vengeful Spirit there and leave Gyrocopter alone against the Queen of Pain?
No. I actually think Silent is okay now. That you could send it 2v2 and have Gyrocopter and Vengeful Spirit face off mid.
That would leave.
They are just going to go ahead and leave. Always want to fly. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But I think you're right. I think it's the necessary thing to do. The Undying can't really afford to be in middle lane. It's kind of awkward for him. Plus the fact that you want to be up against the Night Stalker constantly. So it's the best situation for them is running always going to fly in this middle lane. You just have to make sure that Gyrocopter doesn't end up going down to rotational ganks from Ninjas in Pyjamas, which are quite likely, especially with the Night Stalker.
Speaking of rotational ganks, here's Hanskin coming in with the Invis rune. Perfect vision, knows exactly where they are.
Waiting for his allies here, healing up on the Night Stalker right now with the health potion before they go. They see Undying. Yeah, they're going to go for the Undying first.
He's been hiding in those trees.
I'm a bit surprised by that. I thought they would have placed more value on the Jakiro kill. But fair enough. They get the Undying quick and easy. And doesn't cost them very many resources either.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like that's the right play when you're running that trial lane, just because you've got to get kills. I mean, there's so much pressure on you. I'm inclined to go for the sure thing.
Right.
Okay, TP canceled mid just to kind of protect Era a little bit, and boy, Ninjas in Pyjamas, marked difference.
Yoki's going to go down here. He's caught out. That is going to be another one. This Limp Night Stalker is doing so much work right now, being able to beat up the hero and Undying, and it really all just comes back to that overly aggressive dive that they made, where they gave away 2 different kills in the process of going to the Night Stalker. They're going to get Aloha Dance as well. DK is only going to keep him alive for so long. Tries to go for the health potion, but just a waste of gold. Middle lane, Resolution's going to be caught again. He throws the stun out onto Era, but it's a bit too late. Now Era actually thinking about diving in for more, but they don't have the mana necessary.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how hard Jonas gets pressured in this top lane, has to TP out to avoid the call down.
Is under attack.
But I feel like
they could get always want to fly here. Telekinesis, pull back, Era.
Easy.
He's got enough for a top. That will finish off the killing spree now for Era. He's got 2 assists on top of that. Really, the only silver lining for Empire right now is the fact that Silent is doing so well in the top lane.
Yeah, to me, I mean, it wasn't the draft, it was the laning decisions that really have hurt Empire in this game. I mean, it was like they didn't have a plan for the dual lane mid, which maybe the Rubik threw them off. Maybe because it was a Rubik, they assumed that it wouldn't be a dual mid, but anytime you have an Era Tiny, I think you got to be prepared for that.
Throw down the Tombstone, that's not going to do much. Feels like miscommunication there between Resolution and Era. They could have waited out the Lightning Bolt, you know, just 3 seconds and then go in for the kill.
Yeah, I mean, you Lightning Bolt Wrath there, and Era's already below the health threshold for the zombie Bloodlust.
We've got 4,600 on the Era Tiny, 4,700 on the Gyrocopter. So they are neck and neck. Doing so well in the top lane with the Gyrocopter solo to being able to take that tower that it makes up for the huge lead in kills that NiP have so far. But it's the rest of the team that is really going to showcase NiP being ahead. The support's very far ahead of Empire. You look at the Venge, still doesn't have boots, while the lowest farmed hero on the side of Ninjas and Pyjamas has double the net worth there at 1,200.
Yeah, but keep in mind though, Silent with 67 CS is doing pretty well for himself in terms of farm, and it just can be so deceiving when you see kill scores like this in this metagame.
Resolution can be pulled back into telekinesis. Avalanche, good combination. Ultimate goes out. Ooh, Silent may actually catch up here. He hits one slow. Already throwing up.
Do this.
Oh, nice play. Tossing him back in, and not much Silent can do at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it's 12-1, but it's only a 2K gold lead. Like this isn't insurmountable for Empire. It's certainly a very hard game, but they're not out of this.
Certainly not. Certainly not.
But
Blink Dagger for Era. You gotta kind of expect this when it's a non-twist.
Era's like, all right, guys, you know what? It's time for me to just go ham and end the game.
So with that haster, and especially, he's going to have plenty of opportunities to go for ganks in the next 2 minutes. We'll have to keep our eye on him.
I love it.
But as always, this bottom lane is going to be full of constant back and forth as well. Our Queen of Pain actually teleporting back to base there. Must be looking to rotate out to one of the side lanes now.
Yeah, it really is. When you look at the numbers, it really is the XP advantage for NIP right now that's more significant than the gold. But remember, the XP bounties were never nerfed. That can go away so easily. All Empire have to do is win one fight.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Era pops the haste rune, going through the jungle, hoping to be able to find somebody. There's a lot of heroes off the map. He's going to go in for the middle lane. Resolution gets caught by that avalanche. But he's not going to die for just that. But with Seal Kid coming in, the extra nukes will be enough there. They're going to try and chase down more Hanskin. Blind away. Light Striker rank, gonna miss.
Good anticipation there by Silent. He sniffed that out. He knew something wasn't right.
No way that he should really go for that kill anyway. There's no way they're going to get that Rubik. Bottom lane, though, Yoki perhaps not reading it as well as Resolution and Silent did. They're going to be caught out. Yoki gets a little bit of heal. Oh, Decay going out for the toss onto Yoki with the Sonic Wave on top. Beautiful combination from NiP. Just trouncing Empire here. 11.5 minutes in, giving them a beating for what happened in Game 1.
Yeah, now this is danger time for Empire. They are a couple more kills away from being pretty much out of this. I mean, that up until that last fight, I thought that they had a pretty good chance, but Era Tiny is just on the cusp right now of snowballing out of control.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
All right, so it looks like the bottom tier 1 tower is going to go down here. 12 minutes in. Empire not wanting to contest, particularly since the Night Stalker blew darkness for that last fight. Kind of silly to go into those engagements. You're already losing. It's dark out. The night is full of terrors. Just sit back.
Yeah. I mean, daytime is scary enough for Empire right now with a Blink Dagger on Tiny.
Right.
Yikes. So, I mean, if you're Empire, right, what are you thinking here? I mean, I guess you have to 5-man, but boy, that's just so scary. The coordination just has not been the best from them in this match.
Yeah, they just gotta forward protect one, make sure the Gyrocopter gets farm, and I think they practically like sit behind him while he farms sort of situation, which is obviously a very ineffective way to farm, but they have to prepare for NiP's aggression. You know they're gonna go for these kills. You just gotta hope to be able to counter them as best as possible. I think that's their one way back into this game is a counter game.
Yeah, and it's funny to me too, seeing how, I mean, it's even on towers, right? But at the same time, it's even on towers, but NiP have almost total map control in that Radiant jungle, and that's just so crucial.
Right. I'm thinking it's a minus here for Limp. It is. So he's got the Gloves of Haste, which will be building into the minus to make sure that he still is relevant going into the late game and has an easier time getting to that level.
Yeah, it's become standard. It's become the standard. Oh, and Era too. Yeah. Wow, that's a little bit more surprising, especially after the Blink Dagger. But I mean, it's just these are nice insurance policies.
Limp gonna find the free kill here on Always Wanna Fly. Silence lasting more than long enough since it is still nighttime. And will be nighttime for another 2 minutes or so.
Yeah. I mean, Night Stalker needs that Midas. He's not a very good farming hero. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna ponder on Silence build, but it's gotta be the normal BKB. I was talking to... Who did I cast with recently? Oh, that's right. I casted with FNG, and he talked about like the potential S and Y build on Gyrocopter. Yeah. You know how we're seeing so many S and Ys on heroes that traditionally didn't get it, like SF, like Dro Ranger. But this has got to be a BKB. There's way too much magic. As you can see in the middle lane, where Resolution dies. That's a lot of magic.
He's just getting picked on.
They literally only have 1 kill. One to 17.
And your life is just... this is part of why Gyro basically disappeared from the metagame, right? Your life is so hard right now. You're forced into a position where you have to go second item BKB after a Yasha.
Tossed up in the air, Sonic Wave, and Aaron gets another kill.
Tiny.
You know, it's actually very surprising to me that it's 1 to 18. That is an absurdly large kill lead, and yet Empire are not that far behind. Obviously, it's growing pretty dramatically now, but if you look at back when it was just like 1 to 14, which is still a dramatic difference in kills, and they were only like, 4,000.
It's just like all of a sudden we hit this point at 15-20 minutes when kills matter. Right? Kills before about 15 minutes in this metagame, they're just, in most situations, they're just not that significant.
It feels like the experience lead that you get is easily given up, right? As the experience difference is quite dramatic and comeback mechanics. And the gold lead that you get is not very big, primarily because the kills that you get are not worth, they're oftentimes worth just as much or perhaps slightly more than the enemy team that's free farming because of your rotations.
Exactly. That's where you really still feel, the two places that you really still feel the best changes are mid-game XP and late-game gold.
Ninjas in pajamas here. Nice swap as well. They might be able to get 2. This is the best scenario possible, but they do not have that secondary stun available, so he will just be able to run himself away. Again, kind of wonder if Silent, maybe just playing that old school Gyrocopter a bit too much, going back to his natural environment and isn't ready for the newer Gyrocopter where that rocket is pretty highly valued. I mean, even just 1 level, right, could provide an additional stun.
Oh. Well, here you go.
Well, who needs the Blink Dagger when it's dark out, and Era can just run right into you, pop you, and then blink away.
Yeah, and oh my lord, he's gonna have Blink Midas and Aghanims at like 20 minutes, and yikes. That's all I gotta say.
Pyjamas so far has got halfway.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I would actually be giving farm priority to Hanskin at this point, because with the Quap's Ags is nice, obviously, but you get Lena Ags and
Yoki puts himself in the corner while Era gets that resolution kill. Era perhaps thinking about going for more. He has the blink and pass back, but not going to.
Era's going to put a lot of people in a corner this game.
Certainly is. The Aghanim Scepter is almost up for him too. 700 gold. This is such fast timing, man. We've seen Tinies go for it. The Tiny Whisk combinations get an Aghanim Scepter by 20 minutes. And say that's pretty good. The fact that he's got a Midas, Blink Dagger, Dregs, and doesn't have the Whisk to help him farm up and go through stacks is insane. How fast this guy's farming.
I mean, when you put the two together, right? I mean, Era is the best Tiny player in the game, and it's not even close. And when you give him a team lead like this to farm with, the numbers that he puts up on this hero are just—they're beyond ridiculous.
Yeah.
And here you go, by the way, Hanskin farming bot lane solo, progressing toward his Aghanim. So he's going to build Yules first, and I guess that makes sense. But actually, if there was a game that I would say that you rush Ags on Lena, it's this one. Because once he gets an Ags done, Silent is just screwed.
Yeah, we've talked about this plenty of times where the pure damage mechanics that are coming in with the Queen of Pain and Lina being so popular are particularly strong versus the agility-based heroes that are overly reliant on magic.
Yeah, no, I mean, the single biggest difference between the two, of course, being that Lina does need her Ags to pierce spell immunity.
Right.
And Quap does not.
Which normally you get if it's support Lina, but as you said, it's support Lina, so if there's any game to rush it on a Lina, it would probably be this game, but Hanskin going for the typical build of Yule Scepter.
Yeah, and Yoki picking up a Yules as well, and that's, I mean, another thing about Yules is that it's so valuable when you're behind too, because it's just such a great defensive tool.
You know, some fun. Well, they're not going to catch him, but Hanskin is going to be found as he tries to see if they have enough damage. Ultimate popped, and there it is. Gyrocopter gets the last hit thanks to a dropped bomb there from the ultimate, just barely in time to take it.
Yeah. So, here, question for you: if you're silent, do you finish up the Manta style right now, or do you actually try to build damage? I mean, I almost feel like you gotta try to build damage. You gotta want to fight something.
There's too much AoE clear for you. They did it. In fact, they will. A right click should do the trick. In fact, the stun goes down. That is a huge amount of gold.
Oh my lord! Oh my lord!
That is monster
Suddenly
kill streak.
S&Y done on the gyro. You were calling for it, by the way, and it wasn't instead of BKB, but it's on top of BKB. And that one kill finishes Silent Sanj.
Yeah,
man.
Oh god, I missed the team fight recap.
Radiant's top
you could
tower
see
is
on the
under
overall
attack.
net worth graph how that's going to take up a significant amount just from one pickoff.
I thought Venge was going to get the kill with the stun, but it was so huge that Silent got the kill.
Dyer's middle
Certainly.
tower
I mean,
is
what's
under
Vengeful
attack.
Spirit going to do with that, 1,200 gold?
Radiant's
Not a whole
top
lot.
tower is under
Probably
attack.
feed it away, let's be honest.
Silent, meanwhile, they're going to get even more gold for it. They're going to have the tier 1 tower
fortified.
down and out. Ninjas and Pyjamas are not going to try and contest with their tiny deaths. Silent actually
Dyer's
doesn't go for the
middle
kill.
tower
Instead, the
has
G0
fallen.
grabs it. Really thought that tower bounty was
Dyer's
going to go to
middle
the
tower is
Gyrocopter
under
instead.
attack.
Ultimate being laid down. It's not enough to kill any of these heroes just yet. Seal Kid is still going to be found, actually. With the Blink Dagger on Resolution, didn't realize he picked up that item. That kind of showcases why.
Wow, yeah, and even at 1-7, I mean, Resolution's still finding a way to contribute. This is about the roughest game that I've seen him have, but I mean, still finding a way to contribute. I mean, this is the nice thing about a Zeus, that he outputs so much hero damage just from his spells. He doesn't necessarily need huge amounts of harm.
I mean, you look at just the basis of one ability. There's like abilities that allow you to come back, right? Spell steal, right? Because you're stealing abilities that are
higher level.
That are a higher level, right? There's a big one, just like that spell by itself. Another one, static field. Zeus's static field, so much, percentage-based damage being so much better in the late game. It actually serves as, not obviously you don't want to be behind, but if you are behind, it is one of the better abilities to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as long as that's kind of the interesting thing to me about Empire is that as long as they can somehow keep Silent farming safely, they're not in that bad a shape. I mean, this is a very hard game for them. Don't get me wrong, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, it's not 20,000 gold lead by 20 minutes. It's only about 9,000. So it's definitely recoverable.
Boy, but this is where things get really hard, because now Era another 1K or so, a little bit more off his BKB, and once they have the BKB on Era and the Ags on Night Stalker, they can.
They got all of these with the Pyjamas on the way, but they may be able to get the quick kill on Hanskin. In fact, you see the rest of them quick kill retreating. And Seal Kid on their way, and they just backed out. The moment they realized, okay, he's very much dead. Instead, we're going to go to the middle lane, see if we can't catch out Resolution, and Era, well, he doesn't get him. Static Field actually procs his Blink Dagger at the time he wanted to jump, and will end up
just on the very edge of the AoE, too.
Attack.
That's a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, I know I talked about the importance of Hanskin farming that Aghanim Scepter in this game, but he's given away a few too many deaths trying to farm that bot lane.
I would agree with that one. 23 minutes in right now.
Dire's bottom tower
The gold
is under
lead
attack.
jumping up even further. Nip still holding on to a pretty aggressive experience lead for now. They do also have Roshan that's available for the taking. They don't have the most traditional Rosh taking team, but they certainly can pull it off with physical damage finally up on Era and 2 different stuns that are actually quite significant for Roshan. Light Strike Array as well as the Avalanche.
Yeah, a little bit surprising that they haven't gone for it beforehand. Before now, I feel like they have a good enough control of that area of the map.
The Aghanim Scepter going to be built by the Zeus, most likely. I mean, I doubt he's going to go for Bloodstone. It would feel a bit late for that, in my opinion.
I wouldn't mind the Bloodstone here. Actually, I think you need some damage and you need some sustain.
I would prefer.
I'm sorry,
like,
you need some
bottom
tankability.
tower
Is the big
under
thing.
attack.
I mean, he's just a free kill right now to the Tiny, and he's not going to build a BKB.
honestly, if anything, I would like to see straight BKB at this point. Like you know, sustain your mana sustain. Let's face it, you're not going to be in these fights very long. You either you either win it or you don't.
DK Phobos, that's part of the reason that he pioneered that BKB build on Zeus, is that people underestimate the damage that Zeus can do just by standing close to a fight with that static field, as we were talking about earlier.
Smoke's gonna pop here. They pop the ultimate, not catching. Oh, they do catch it. Yule Scepter. This is gonna be a big one. They try and lock down the big beast, but he pops the BKB. Turning to fight. Empire do not have physical damage, but they're slowing him down pretty damn well, especially with the tombstone on the cliff. Era kited around perfectly to get that one kill. The trade-off is going to be the Jakiro. The zombies chasing down Seal Kid. They should be able to get an additional one on him, with Resolution cleaning him up. Yoda Sapan also going to be pushed back here, and Empire may have the opportunity to take Roshan here with that win.
Oh my goodness, 2 fights in very similar areas of the map where they get kills on Era. It's just so huge. That almost puts Empire back into the game.
It really does. I mean, you look at just the Gyrocopter's net worth, and he's closing the gap now with the Tiny, who is so far ahead of him. Still going to be a tough game for sure, though.
Yeah, really, I mean, that last kill, the kill before that on Era, slowed down his BKB just enough so that they didn't have Tiny BKB and Night Stalker Aghanims hitting it right at the same time. So they couldn't necessarily be hugely aggressive right when Lip first finished his Aghanim Scepter. And, you know, the 2 Midases, you kind of look back on it and you say, were those a mistake? Because, yeah, they mean these heroes can farm, but it's limited the effectiveness of NIP in these fights. And there is the Bloodstone on Resolution.
Yep, so he finishes that one up, perhaps a recovery time for this. Exactly. As, you know, the charges are also very beneficial in downtime for his death. They're going to be able to catch out the Queen of Pain.
A lot of damage.
Ooh, almost getting him. They still can catch him out here. Another lightning bolt, and they got him. Throws out the Sonic Wave as a last result there, but...
Frustration screen?
Yeah, feels like it. That was a great pick-off there. The Yule Scepter Blink. This is why Jakiro was very popular at one point in time as an offlaner, because his ability to catch heroes is so good once he's got that Blink Dagger, solely because the Yule Scepter to lead, the follow-up Ice Path, and then you're also able to get a good amount of damage out. Most of the time, you don't think of Jakiro as being that good of a damage dealer because so much of his damage over time, but when you have the Yule Scepter set up to allow you to throw down the Macro Pyre preemptively, and then hit the Ice Path on top of it, plus the slow, you actually get a really good amount of magic damage. Obviously, the biggest counter being BKBs, but even then, just the utility of being able to Yules and then throw out the Ice Path and force the BKB, and you could just back out from there, is oftentimes very significant, even later.
Yeah, Jakiro is underrated in his damage output. Really, the only thing preventing Jakiro from being pretty darn good is the duration scaling on his Ice Path. Like, if his Ice Path duration started off at like 1.5 or 1.8 and scaled from there, he would be a really, really good hero.
Aloha Dance goes ahead and picks up the Vanguard. I'm okay with this pickup. Like, it's obviously not amazing timing. I think he really needs a cloak, though. I'm not entirely sure why he hasn't picked up just a basic cloak by now.
He's going Vanguard so he can get the Crimson. Crimson is pretty good in this matchup.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Crimson Guard is the right choice, but again, I just not sure why he doesn't make the small pit stop for such a huge increase of survivability.
It's not really that big because of the pure damage from Sonic Wave and Laguna. I mean, it's still really, really good.
Oh, they find the Rubik. They're going to be able to pick him off nice and quick. And free kill there, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I just like the tiny magic damage. You got Night Stalker and all the Lena spells. I just feel like the 550 is something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think Casual Cloak on Undying is going to be good in the majority of games. I just feel like the, it gets you that much closer to your Crimson Guard. And yeah, probably going to be an easy Roshan here for NIP, although you got to question why they didn't do this earlier.
Yeah, they do have the Hyperstone now for Era, trying to build into that Assault Cuirass. The KP is going to be up on Yonasampan off of this pickup, and Lim, who already has his Aghanim Scepter and Gem combination, can go ahead and start building into that next item. But what is that going to be?
The hesitancy. I mean, you can see there. I mean, I guess, okay, Seal Kid was all the way back in base on his Rubik, but NIP right now just feel like they're playing really hesitant to me.
Need to take a little bit more control of the map right now. They have this Aghanim's Gem. It should be totally in their favor. So as long as I think they just played that game right now. Right? They've given up the early lead a bit too much. I think they just have to go for controlling the map as best as possible, hoping to find those pickoffs, and just allow Air to farm up. He's got to get to that late game tiny position now. I don't think they can get away with just their magic damage now.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's more tilted in favor of Empire in the late game than it is now. Right? I mean, Gyro can just get so huge.
Hunskin? Didn't quite see him there. The ultimate. Zeus didn't trust himself enough. Resolution. If he'd thrown out that ultimate the first time he kind of faked it, they could have seen the Lena and perhaps gotten the Yule Scepter or Ice Path needed to stop that TP out. But as a result, this is out of the field for a minute. 21 Empire making a significant comeback in this game where they are actually able to contest the Pyjamas in team fights now, 5 versus 5.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you look at a net worth graph and it's flat, it's such an advantage for the team that's behind.
Well, always want to keep it up here, but good setup here. Ice Path already laid down. Era comes in, but he's going to be slowed down. Look at that, the BKB wants the Tombstone. Era going straight for the Tombstone. They go for the Zombie Attack. He's going to be able to come back in. Era dropping low. He's going for the kill for the Zombie. Just barely able to help out Yonasampan. He's not going to get it either. They give away that Aegis now surrounding the Queen. And that is a total wipe. Ninjas and Pyjamas, all they claim is a vengeful spirit, and that is now Empire 100% back in this game on even footing with
it's not even footing. It's Empire have all the momentum going for them right now, and just how brilliantly they kited the Era Tiny in these last couple of fights. They are neutralizing that farm advantage to such a huge extent. And Silent, who I thought was going to have just such a ridiculous time coming back into this game, he has not only come back in this game, he is dominating.
Yeah, he's over 2,000 gold ahead of the Tiny, and going to be even more as they take this tier 3 tower. Ninjas and Pyjamas don't think they can really fight me. This could be straight up them losing the game. But they get caught here without the time. Shot the BKB, Yonasampan going to be fine. One through Ice Path from Seal Kid, and that is actually really going to save the fight. As long as Seal's going to end up falling here, they go to the Tombstone at the same time. Seal Kid going to go down, Yonasampan being chased by zombies. It's good to be able to survive, but Silent just ripping through hero after hero. Is now going to be able to pop the BKB. Backs away though. As Tiny comes back, he doesn't commit for the range rags and decides that it's much better to play the safer route, gets himself away, and will be able to finish up that MKB.
As long as he and Resolution are surviving, that's just such a huge win. I mean, you can see Resolution. Oh gosh.
And Yonasampan, if he's not careful, he could still be caught. The Vengeful Spirits in that jungle.
17 Bloodstone charges. His Perseverance and his recipe are done toward the Refresher. I mean, he's going to have Refresher here in very, very soon.
Era, meanwhile, still trying to build that Assault Cuirass. Well, Gyrocopter goes from not having his MKB in that fight, had it in the stash, but didn't have it for that fight, to now having the MKB, and I'm presuming going for a Satanic, as, yeah, he's already got the Reaver and should be getting the recipe quite soon.
Yeah, boy, this is ridiculous. I mean, kind of the only saving grace for NFP right now is that Silent is already down to 6 seconds on his BKB, but that Ags for Hanskin is nowhere in sight.
They're going to have to lock down the Gyrocopter so well. They basically had to survive through the BKB. The problem's going to be is the BKB basically ensures he gets off the flat cannon shots, right? Because they do not have any disables to go through the BKB.
To me, there is one question right now for NIP and one question only, and that is how are you going to stop Era from being kited? You have to somehow position your supports and your other cores so that Era has some freedom in these fights. He's been completely controlled, and that's on the other 4 players to make some room for him in these fights.
The Resolution just needs a little bit more gold for that refresher. No need for Empire to get too aggressive right now while they finish up those last couple of items, but I'm sure in the next, well, 2 to 3 minutes here, it's going to be, it's actually going to be a fairly early Roshan, so they could feel pretty confident. And smoking up about the Roshan timer, going for that traditional gank that all teams do, right?
Radiant's middle
right
tower
as the
is under
Roshan
attack.
time starts, there's usually a smoke gank from one team, perhaps both. They go for a pick-off or they go for a team fight that allows them to either then go into Roshan and take it, or if it's not there, push in and force buybacks, which still puts them an advantage when it comes to taking Roshan.
Right. Yeah, and that's sort of one of the aspects of timing in the game that I feel like we don't talk about enough is how crucial it is. Oh, nope.
Limp almost getting caught by the Jakiro, not quite close enough. I think he blinked and forced staff to try and get in range, but Limp was a bit too fast.
I feel like Empire could just straight up go for this in terms of the roast pit because they've just executed so much better in these fights.
Pressure up 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Still have a lot of BKBs on the side of Nip, but he gets it at the right time. It's going to be all about initiation, it seems like. But Nip do not really have the initiating tools.
Are fortified.
Right? They don't have any blink daggers besides arrows, so they don't have those supply stuff. Very unlikely that they somehow catch the Gyrocopter before he pops his BKB.
Now that's the downside of the build that Sampan has gone in this game, that without the Orchid or the Sheep Stick on its Queen of Pain, they just don't have the tools to control.
Tier 3 tower at the same time. Nip are going to lose the fight in middle lane, but look at all the damage on the Tier 3. It's already down. Hanskin. Try to TP out. Always want to fly though. Does still swap. Thanks. You always want to wave a tear and always want to fly. He lives through the Laguna play. They're also trying to chase down Arrow. Looks like he was forced into the BKB again, the utility factor from Yoki. He hit the Ult Scepter, I think.
Radiant's
the
middle
turnaround
tower
Era.
has
Gonna miss out
fallen.
the Avalanche. Yoki actually makes aggressively forward, and now Era could potentially lose on this. Yoki goes right through the trees. Ult Scepter out, Ice Path forward. He's just trying to stall up time. That way Zeus can finally get here. Macro Pyre stalling up Era. And Era does not have a TP scroll. There's no real way out for him except for a Blink Dagger. Zeus pops the ultimate, making sure they still see Era keep that Blink Dagger alive, and Era is going to go down inside this jungle. Nicely set up. Resolution blinks forward into it because he knows he's fine.
That is your 3-position Jakiro, half the net worth of Tiny, who's able to just completely control Era long enough for his team to get there. Unbelievable plays here by Empire.
Yeah, and you can't help but feeling like perhaps the Tiny needs to be able to get a route to travel or hold on to a TP scroll and sell that Midas. You don't want to, but it seems like that may be a necessity in situations like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is, it sounds obvious, but this is the downside of the Tiny without the Wisp, and boy, Empire just have this
Not going to have any defense against that setup. We already have the Queen of Pain going for Resolution to swap out, causing a bit of confusion. Jonas the Fawn forced away. Aloha Dots in the back. He gets the dance run for him, but now the turn. Empire quickly going down the base, takedown 3. Era sitting like a cuckold in the back, waiting and waiting and waiting, but Empire just dominating the rest of the team of Nip.
I mean, Silent is just an animal. We talked about him kind of moving out of that hard one role, but showing in a couple of recent matches that he can still dominate games just like anybody.
Yeah, Aloha Dance gonna be caught. Empire are going to lose one here, but doubt they're going to lose much more as Ares BKB is going to run out. They're not going to continue to go for the Sonic. Sonic Wave actually takes out that Vengeful Spirit. Fuel Scepter is set up to the Ice Snap. Jonas does not have a BKB and will end up dying a secondary time here. Zeus actually popping the refresher. Could get the kill on Era, but Era gets the toss first and should be able to get out. Yoki trying to pursue. No, stop that Blink Dagger. Era's not going to get out. He ends up falling a second time, and that is going to be silent. He's got whatever he wants to do. He can go for the tier 4s. He can go for the racks. It doesn't matter because there's no one on the side of Nip that can stop him.
Dire's top tower is
747 gold per minute, 14-0-7, silent footing on a show.
Dire's top barracks are under
26 to 27, unbelievable. It's what, 1 to 19 at some point in time? Somewhere in there. Silent. Gonna start going on him with the buybacks. Ninjas and Pyjamas need to be able to bait out this BKB for a while and land the stuff necessary for the missions like that.
Dire's top tower.
Yeah, I mean, this is, it sounds
Dire's
obvious,
middle
but this is the
tower has
downside
fallen.
of the Tiny without the Wisp, and boy, Empire just had this match.
Using the offensive tools. We're not going to have any defense against that setup. We already have the Queen of Pain going for resolution to swap out, causing a bit of confusion. Jonas the Fawn pulls away. Aloha dodge in the back. Ninjas for Jan's on the shoot for him, but now Empire quickly going back to base, take down 3 with Era sitting on the Kunkel in the back, waiting and waiting and waiting, but Empire just dominating the rest of the team of Nip.
Dire's structures
I mean, Silent is just an animal. We talked about him kind of moving out of that hard one role, but showing in a couple of recent matches that he can still dominate games just like anybody can. One player.
Yeah, Aloha Dance going to be caught. Empire are going to lose one here, but doubt they're going to lose much more as Ares BKB is going to run out. They're not going to continue to go for the Sonic. Sonic Wave actually takes out that Vengeful Spirit. Fuel Scepter is set up to the Ice Snap. Jonas does not have a BKB and will end up dying a secondary time here. Zeus actually popping the refresher. Could get the kill on Era, but Era gets the toss first and should be able to get out. Yoki trying to pursue. No, stop that Blink Dagger. Era's not going to get out. He ends up falling a second time, and that is going to be silent. He's got whatever he wants to do. He can go for the tier 4s. He can go for the racks. It doesn't matter because there's no one on the side of Nip that can stop him
Dire's
now.
top tower is under attack.
747 gold per minute, 14-0-7, silent footing on a show.
Dire's top barracks are under attack.
26 to 27, unbelievable. It was what, 1 to 19 at some point in time? Somewhere in there. Silent. Gonna start going on him with the buybacks. Ninjas and Pyjamas need to be able to bait out this BKB for a while and land the stuff necessary, but they've already lost the river. They're about to lose the lead at 2. Silent cleans that up.
Dire's top
The help of
barracks are
resolution.
under
Jonas
attack.
Apollo is going to be slowed down by the bottom 8 toast, and GG well played. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they got to be feeling so bad about game number 3 that's coming up because they just win from what was a 10,000, almost 12,000 gold lead by 20 minutes for losing this game. Going in by 35-40, it felt like Empire had already taken control of the game.
Unbelievable. I mean, it was 18-1 in kills, and it finishes 29-27. Just an unreal comeback by Empire, and it boils down to Nip not having enough control over the Empire team. They just